Hello, my name is Lillian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about protective style, like how to properly do protective style on starter locks, or even if it's on matured locks, without experiencing damage. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. Now, before we go into this video, you guys that have been with me for a while, you guys that have been watching my videos for a while, you guys must have heard me talk about doing protective styles on locks and how I have been against it. Like, even up to now, if I still recommend that it is better for you to not put on protective styles like bugs, rays, faux locks and all the likes on locks, because the chances of experiencing damage is a lot higher. However, I understand that maybe for one reason or the other, maybe you're in starter lock phase, you're not confident wearing your hair, or maybe your locks are very short and you have an event or whatever, and you're going to wear protective styles basically. And I've had quite a number of you guys send me messages after installing a protective style against what I said, and you guys have had issues, so I figured I should make this video to give you guys tips that will help you not damage your locks or not experience damage, even though to reduce the damage as much as possible if you decide to go ahead and install protective styles on your locks. Now, the first thing you need to do before you install any sort of protective style on your locks, whether you have starter locks or mature locks, is you want to make sure that you prepare the extensions, because most people who do protective styles, they use like extensions. Maybe they want to do box braids, or like now with all the whole Little Mermaid and the Haley and Chloe, everyone wants to do protective styles like them on their locks, so most people use extensions. Now, before you do any form of protective styles on your locks, you want to make sure that you prepare the hair extensions properly. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you wash the hair extensions, because many of these hair extensions go through a lot of chemical processing to prepare them for use, and so those chemicals, quite a good number of people react to those chemicals. So if you go ahead and install those extensions on your locks or in your hair without washing them, you may start to experience things like very super itchy scalp, so I highly recommend that before you go ahead and use any extensions, make sure make sure that you're using something that you can wash, right? And before you go ahead and use, make sure you wash it. I've seen Natural 85 wash her box braids, her extensions for box braids before, and she basically used apple cider vinegar. She soaked it in water and rinsed it and everything. So you can use that. I've heard so many people say that using apple cider vinegar to help remove those chemicals, dissolve those chemicals, works. If you don't have apple cider vinegar, you can use your regular shampoo. If it's a mild shampoo, just lightly put it in the water, allow it to soak a little bit, rinse it, and you're good to go. This is going to help reduce the itching as much as possible, and it's going to help make your experience more pleasant, because nobody likes itchy scalp. And I've had so many of you guys come back to me and complain about how you went ahead to do protective styles on your locks and now your scalp is inflamed and itchy. It's most likely because of the chemicals on those extensions. So now, tip number 2 is to wash and dry your locks properly before you install any form of protective style. Now, the reason why I say this is you really don't want to be washing your hair or washing your locks when you have those styles in there, because that is going to increase the chances of you experiencing damage. Why? When you have those extensions in there, normally locks, especially if your locks are already starting to mature a little bit, locks tend to get heavier as they mature, and people tend to be tender-headed when they get locks, So if you go ahead and add the weight of the extensions, and then you go ahead and add water and add the weight of water, you may experience damage while you're washing. Another thing is that point where you have that extension connected to your hair. That point, especially if you've installed something like box braids, that point is it can easily knot up, and so if you wash your hair while you have the extensions in, it can form knots that will be difficult for you to take out eventually when you're done with the style. So make sure you wash and dry your locks. If you don't dry properly, you're going to have smelly hair. So make sure you wash and dry your locks properly, and do a TLC, moisturize, and make sure that you moisturize properly before you go ahead and install whatever protective style that you want to do. I previously mentioned that you're more tender-headed when you have locks. And so that means that those styles that you used to do when you had loose natural hair and it used to be fine, now that you have locks, there's a high chance that those styles are going to become painful. So you want to bear this in mind and make sure that whatever style you're doing, you're making it as loose, like extra loose, as loose as possible. I find that this is one mistake that so many people make, because they feel that, okay, because you now, that is more difficult for you to mask locks in a protective style than loose hair, you know. So many people go ahead and over manipulate and over tighten their locks and everything like that, just because they want it to blend with the hair extensions. This is a no, because you are more tender-headed when you have locks, so you cannot afford to make those styles as tight as you would normally make them if you had loose natural hair. You have to make them super loose. And this takes us to the next point, which is, in order for you to make your styles loose and for it to look good, you have to make sure that the protective style that you're picking looks like locks, you know. So our next point is make sure that whatever style you're doing looks like locks as much as possible. And that's why I'm totally against people who go ahead and do regular box braids like that, you know, those like seamless box braids. Among all the list of protective styles that you can do on locks, that's going to be my least favorite, because it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to mask your hair, your locks, in like regular box braids than, let's say, a style like faux locks, you know, where you're just taking your locks and inserting it in the lock, you know. So you want to make sure that you pick a style that looks like locks, or that is easy for you to mask your hair in, you know, something that is effortless, and that way you're going to get better results and better experience generally with the protective style. Now our next point is make sure that you don't keep the style in for too long. Now, generally speaking, the shorter you have the style in, the better for you. The shorter you have the style in, the lower your chance of experiencing damage. So you want to make sure that you do not keep the style in for more than 4 weeks. If it's a style that you wear for a week and take it down, it's even better, you know. But whatever you do, make sure that you don't keep the style in for more than 4 weeks, because that's going to just increase your chances of experiencing damage, and you do not want that. Now, another thing that will help is that the shorter the extensions that you use for your protective style, the better. This is because the shorter the extensions, the less weight the extension is going to have, right? And the less weight you have, the lower your chances of experiencing damage due to the weight and like the tension of the protective style. So the shorter, the better. Another tip is your scalp care is very important when you have in protective styles, especially if you have locks. You want to make sure that many people, when they hear about scalp health, they think about, oh, let me just go ahead and oil my scalp, even though oiling your scalp lightly can be beneficial, but that's not actually what I mean by scalp health. Some scalp care, rather, sometimes the reason why your scalp may be inflamed and may be itchy and like your protective style is so uncomfortable is because your scalp has not experienced anything called moisture for a long time, because you have protective style in, and obviously you're not washing your hair. So by scalp health, I mean, from time to time, go ahead and lightly spray some water on there, or like if you prefer like a scalp mist, go ahead, lightly spritz it all over your scalp, massage that in, and make sure you dry afterwards. This is going to help to keep your scalp moist, and it's going to just help keep your scalp healthy throughout the period of wearing the protective style. So make sure that you take good care of your scalp. Make sure that you're giving your scalp water to drink or moisture to absorb while you're wearing the protective style. And I think this can be a huge game changer when it comes to determining whether you're going to have a pleasant experience or not. Another tip is when you start to get itchy, when you start to get super itchy that you find yourself scratching, it's time to take down the style. Like, don't stretch it. When your scalp starts to get itchy, don't just end it there. Take down the style, please and please. What you don't want to do is constantly scratch, and at the end of the day, you're causing micro injuries on your scalp, and before you know it, your scalp is inflamed. You do not want that, because it's going to be recipe for disaster. So please, as soon as your scalp starts to get itchy, it's time to take it down. Now, if you have done all these things that I've mentioned previously, it's going to take a little longer before your scalp starts to get itchy. So yeah, but as soon as your scalp starts to get itchy, and like super itchy that you find that you're tempted to always be scratching your hair, it's time to take down the style. And this takes us to the next point, which is whenever your scalp is itchy, like, you know, sometimes it may just be, it's not like your scalp has gotten super itchy, but you may just want to scratch every now and then. Whenever you're tempted to scratch, do not scratch your scalp when you have protective styles in. Like I said, do not scratch your scalp when you have protective styles in. What you want to do instead is go ahead and spray some, you know, water or like mist or whatever, and just like gently massage instead of scratching, and make sure you dry your locks or like dry your scalp properly afterwards. I keep saying that because that is very important. If you wet your scalp and do not dry properly afterwards, that's going to make your scalp itchy. And if your scalp was itchy before and now you're gonna have to wet it, it's going to make it even more itchy. So you want to make sure that instead of scratching, spray some water in there, massage and massage instead of scratching. Another tip I want to mention here that is related to like spraying water on your scalp health and all the likes is using cool water or like cold water. If the weather is not super cold, right, using something that is more on the cold side is going to help, you know, calm your scalp, right? So if you can, if where you are the weather is not cold, it's not like very cold, you can use like something that is cold, a cold water, or you can put whatever mist you want to use like in the fridge just to cool it a little bit before spraying on your scalp. Like this can like really soothe your scalp. Even if you're suffering from itchy scalp, this can like really soothe it. And like I mentioned earlier, make sure you dry your scalp properly afterwards with a fan, because I noticed that some people, after they have done that, they go ahead and dry with a hair dryer. This is going to be counterproductive because the heat of the dryer can actually make things worse. So dry with a fan, because that's cooling and it's just going to cool everywhere. Another tip that's going to help make your experience more pleasant is try to wear the protective style down as much as possible. Generally speaking, when you put your hair up, it gets heavier because all the weight of your hair is up, and then you start to feel it, right? So as much as you can, wear your protective styles down. Now another thing you want to bear in mind is try, whenever you want to install protective styles, try to stay away from styles that require you to put gel directly on your scalp or put gel close to your scalp, because if you're going to be wearing the style for a little while, when you have gel on your scalp, after a few days your scalp is going to start to get itchy. So sometimes it's not necessarily the fact that the extension is what's causing the itchy scalp, but because of the products you use while you're installing the style, aka your gels, that can actually be what's contributing or like what is causing the itchy scalp. So try as much as you can to only do protective styles that do not require you to put gel close to your, like at your roots or like directly on your scalp. Now another thing you want to bear in mind when you install protective style on locks is you want to make sure that you pay attention to your style. As soon as it starts to look like you have dirt accumulating at the base of the style, like at your roots, because you know, you guys understand what I'm talking about. When you wear something like box braids, for example, after some time, you see that you start to have like dirt gather at the base, right? When you start to notice that it is time to take down the style, do not wait any longer. Go ahead and take it down. If you can even take it down before it gets to that point, it's even much better. But as soon as you notice the dirt gather at the base of your style or like at your root, it's time to take it down. And the reason why I say this is, if you keep that in for a long time, that dirt can eventually move down. When you take down the style, when you wash your hair and everything, the dirt that you're seeing that is gathering at the base of the style can move into the lock and cause buildup over time, and you do not want that. So as soon as you start to notice that, take it down. Another thing is, as the dirt is gathering down at the scalp, that's also knot is also building, like knots are also forming down at that spot, which is like basically meshing the protective style and your own hair, you know. And if you allow that to go on for too long, when you finally take down the style, it's going to be difficult, and you may end up like breaking hair strands and causing, you know, breakage and damage down the line. So now another thing is, make sure that you're gentle and patient when you finally take down the style. Now the longer you have the style in, the more gentle and the more patient you're going to need to be, because the more issues that may arise, right? So you want to make sure that you're careful and you're gentle. It's okay to use a little bit of oil, like use a light oil to make the takedown process a lot easier, or you can use water or whatever, but just make sure that you're calm, you're gentle, you're patient, because this is going to make or break the whole experience, right? If you followed all the things I've said before, and then when it's time to take down, you're in a hurry, you just rush through the process and rip out your hair, you're going to see damage. You know, so try as much as you can to make sure that you are kind to your hair when you're taking down the style, you're patient, and you just do things calmly. And every strand matters, you know, and you make sure that when you're taking down the style, you try as much as you can to keep every strand on your head. Our last and final tip that will help make your whole protective style experience pleasant is for you to make sure that before you install the protective style, make sure that your hair is in, your locks are in perfect condition. There's no thinning anywhere, there's no breakage anywhere, your hair doesn't feel dry, you have mastered moisture, your hair's moisture, you have mastered how to moisturize your locks are in perfect condition before you install any protective style. Because you go ahead and install protective style when your hair is not in order, when you have issues, it's going to make things worse, and at the end of the day, when you take down the style, you're going to see a lot of damage. So make sure that before you install the protective style, make sure that your hair is already in perfect condition. Now, another thing is, after you have taken down the style, you want to pay attention. This is not the time when, oh, I've taken down the protective style, I'm just going to do whatever and just leave my hair care to chance. No, don't do that. After you have taken down the style, your hair is most likely, your scalp are most likely still fragile at this point. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to your hair and give your hair, your locks, tender, loving care. You need to give your locks TLC, you know, for like a month or like 2 months after the takedown. What I mean by TLC, you want to make sure that you're moisturizing, you're not letting your locks go dry for too long, you're moisturizing, you're wetting, like you're giving your locks some water. If you like to use products, you can, maybe you like to use oils, make sure that you're constantly using the right amount of oils and just making sure that you're keeping your locks moisturized. Basically, when it comes to locks, that's basically all there is when it comes to TLC. Just make sure that you're keeping your locks moisturized. Now, some people ask me, hey, when it comes to TLC, can I go ahead and condition my locks, or like deep condition my locks? If you're in the starter lock phase, I do not recommend this because this can slow down the locking process. But hey, see, if you're in a phase where your hair is prone to damage, you can as well go ahead and use conditioner. But just make sure that whatever you're using is very, very light. It's like super light. If you can find something that is intended for locks, that is very, very light, that just helps to just boost the moisture, this can help. Generally, I usually say that people who have starter locks should not should not use conditioners in their locks, right? But if you can see that after the protective style, your hair just feels super dry, and you tried everything, is not working, and like your hair is at the verge of like breaking, see, it's better for you to have build up than for your hair to break off. So go ahead and condition your hair, and at least for a while, and then when you're done, when you've gotten your hair back to normal, you can start to look into trying to get build up out. But make sure that while you're using conditioner in your locks, make sure that you're using something that is light, that the chance of you getting build up is like 0 to none. You know, that's going to give you the best results, you know. But you do not have to condition. By just moisturizing, you're going to be fine. Wetting your locks from time to time. If you're in the shower, just like allow the steam. If you like to use warm water when you shower, just allow the steam to like soak into your hair and just help with moisture. Just make sure that you're moisturizing thoroughly and like paying attention to making sure that your hair doesn't go dry, you know, for like a month or 2 months after you have taken down the style. So I hope you guys try these tips, because I'm tired of receiving DMs from you guys with damaged locks after installing a protective style, right? If you follow all these tips, your chances of getting damaged is going to be it's going to reduce. Now, I cannot guarantee that you're not going to have any form of damage, because you installing protective styles on your locks, especially if it is in the starter lock phase, or even if it's a little bit more mature, you are putting your hair at risk of compacting and getting slimmer and not being as thick, right? So you need to bear this in mind. But another thing I want to say is, don't make this a habit. Even though I've given you some tips that will help prevent or like reduce damage when you install protective style, do not make it a habit of always installing protective style over your locks. If you're someone who feels the need to always wear protective styles over your locks, then maybe having locks, this is not the right time for you to have locks, because over time, if you do that back to back to back, you're going to damage your locks. Like there's no amount of saving or no amount of tips can help you in that case. You know, so all these tips are just, if it's like a one time thing, or like a once in like 6 months or once a year thing, these tips can help. But if you make it a habit, every month you're installing protective style, auntie, I can't help you. I'm sorry. So with that, we come to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned one or two things. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if this is your first time on my channel and you like to see more videos from me, then definitely subscribe. If you guys like to have lots like mine, I have an online course where I share all my tips, how I started with the Lily and Okibe Locs method, how I retwist, how I style, how I wash. There's no how I style there. How I wash, how I maintain, basically to have my locks looking like this. I'm going to put the link down in the description box and also in the iCards, and you can also click the link in my bio. Is that what we call it here on YouTube? Like if you go to my YouTube page, I can see the link there on my channel on my homepage, so you can go ahead and enroll if you're interested. Also, if you like to see the products I use for my locks, I have all of them available on my website. I'll also put the link in the iCard in the description box, and you also find it on my page here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.